أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillahi al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. All praise and thanks is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all peace and blessings be upon his beloved messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Upon him be peace. All right, so we are continuing on our series of the Seerah, the story of the messenger's life. Alayhi salatu wasalam. May God's peace and blessings be upon him. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start following Martin Lings' book a little bit more closely. So just for your reference, we are now starting in chapter 15. So just to recap, we have spoken about the early life of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, peace be upon him. We've talked about his marriage to Khadija radiallahu anha, their children, his family life, his ascendance as a member of Meccan society. He was called As-Sadiq al-Amin, the trustworthy one. And then we spoke about the first revelation to him when Jibreel alayhi salam came down and he said, Ya Muhammad, Anta Rasulullah wa ana Jibreel. And he revealed Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, the first 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq, which I believe is the 96th chapter of the Quran. So that's where we are now. So just for your reference, in Martin Lings' book, we are now starting chapter 15, and we'll start going chapter by chapter. Before we keep going, I just wanted to pause and see if there were any questions from last time.
None from me.
Yeah, none from me either.
Okay, excellent. So let's begin. So after he after the revelation from Jibreel alayhi salam, he was truly in shock. He after the Jibreel revealed the 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq, he ran down from Hira, looked up in the sky, and all he could see was Jibreel in his full angelic form. Gabriel alayhi salam, Archangel Jibreel, has 600 wings. And he said, Ya Muhammad, Anta Rasulullah wa ana Jibreel. Oh Muhammad, you are the messenger of God, and I am Gabriel. And the Prophet ﷺ, everywhere he looked, north, south, east, west, there was Gabriel there. And so he ran back home. He was in complete horror and shock. Told his wife, cover me, dathiruni, zammiluni, cover me. And he, after the fear and the shock subsided, he told his wife Khadija what happened, and she said, no way that this was an evil spirit, you are such a good person. Then he went to Waraqa ibn Nawfal. Okay, Waraqa ibn Nawfal was a Christian, and he was the cousin of Khadija radiallahu anha, and he told him the story, and he said, holy, holy, by him whose hand is the soul of Waraqa, this is the same namus or nomos in Greek, meaning divine law or scripture, or the angel of revelation. This is the same namus that had come unto Moses, and you are the prophet of your people. And he said, I wish I was young so that I could support you when your people kick you out or cast you out. And he said, the Prophet ﷺ was surprised. He said, Awa mukhrijiyuhum, will they really cast me out? And he said to him, no one has come with what you will have come except that they were persecuted. So this is a forewarning of what was going to happen to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Soon after Al-Alaq, also the second verse came down, was Noon, Surah Noon, Surah Al-Qalam rather, which begins Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun ma anta bi ni'mati rabbika bi majnoon wa inna laka la ajran ghayru mamnoon wa innaka la ala khuluqin azim. That Noon, which now is the first time that these huruf muqatta'at, they're called the disjointed letters, was revealed. Noon, by the pen and by that which they write. You are not a madman. You're through the grace of your Lord unto thee, and yours shall be a meed unfailing, and verily you are of an immense character. And then the revelation stopped. Some say for 6 weeks, others say for 6 months. The revelation stopped completely. It's called Fatrat al-Wahy. And in fact, the Prophet ﷺ would go out into the desert awaiting the revelation, and it would never come. Okay, and it caused distress to the Prophet ﷺ, because now he's like, well, what was that? What happened? And the wisdom behind that is the first experience of the revelation was one of terror and fear. And now there is a longing for the revelation on the part of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was the wisdom of giving the time between noon, Surah Al-Qalam, and then the next surah was revealed was Wadduha. So after this period of break, and the Prophet ﷺ was actually very distressed, then came Surah Al-Duha. Wadduha wal-layli idha saja ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. By the morning brightness, by the morning light, and by the night when it is still, your Lord has not forsaken you, or does he hate you? And the last shall be better for you than the first. And your Lord shall give and give unto you, and you will be satisfied. Did he not find you an orphan and then shelter you, and found you astray and guided you, and found you needy and enriched you? As for the orphan, do not oppress him, and for the beggar, do not repel him, and of the bountiful grace of your Lord, proclaim it. So now it gives you a little sense, and gives us all of a sense of what duha and what it meant to the Prophet ﷺ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was comforting the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I have not forsaken you, I don't hate you, but now I want you to long the revelation. So soon now the revelation started coming. And so now we're in chapter 16. Right away, Jibreel alayhi salam came down and taught the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam how to make wudu, how to make the ablution. He struck the ground with his wing and with his heel, and there was a spring that gushed forth, and he taught him how to make the ritual ablution, the wudu, and showed him how to pray. And then he said, how to pray with Allahu Akbar and all the prostration and the bowing and everything like that. And then he went home. He taught Khadija, and then they prayed together. And then he taught Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, his cousin, and who was living in his household. And then he taught Zayd ibn Haritha, which at this point was known as Zayd ibn Muhammad. They became Muslim, and then Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu also became Muslim. And Abu Bakr immediately, as soon as he told them, he's like, I believe in you as the messenger, period. He had no question. He's the only one. And later, way later in Medina, there was an incident where I think, if I remember correctly, Sayyidina Umar and Sayyidina Abu Bakr had a little disagreement. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr was kind of hurt. And the Prophet ﷺ said out loud, every single one of you, when I brought Islam to you, you thought about it, you asked questions, you accept Abu Bakr. From the very moment he said, I believe in you, you are truthful, you are a messenger. Whoever hurts Abu Bakr hurts me. Right? So this still comes all the way from the beginning. And through Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, so many people became Muslim. So Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, who was a multi-millionaire, and one of the most prominent Sahaba, became Muslim because of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu became Muslim under through Abu Bakr. Bilal radiallahu anhu became Muslim through Abu Bakr. Khalid ibn Sa'id ibn al-As also became Muslim through Abu Bakr. Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, the son-in-law of the Messenger sallallahu the third Khalifa, but one of a very prominent tribe of Bani Umayyah, right? And and a very, very wealthy merchant, and who just did so much good for the Muslims. He became Muslim under Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Talha also became a Muslim through Abu Bakr. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who learned 70 surahs from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and became someone who, if you wanted, he was the most authoritative reciter of the Quran. He became Muslim through Abu Bakr. And so, subhanallah, the conversion of Abu Bakr just led to so many people, very big names, very big companions, to become Muslim through him, radiallahu anhu. Then after a while came the command to start proclaiming the revelation. يا أيها المدثر قم فأنذر وربك فكبر وثيابك فطهر والرجز فاهجر ولا تمنن تستكثر. Right? Surah Al-Muddathir. O you who wrapped up in your cloak, arise and warn, and your Lord magnify, and your garment purify, and shun all defilement, which is idolatry. Right? And then يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. Right? O you who wrapped up in thy raiment, keep vigil all the night except a little, half the night or less than half, or lessen than half a little, or add to it, and with care and clarity chant the Quran. Inna sanulqi alayka qawlan thaqila, that we will give you a word that has heavy weight, right? So now the command to warn people came. Ya ayyuhal muddathir qum fa'anzir, right? And then one time Jibril came down to the Messenger ﷺ, and he told the Prophet to tell Khadija radiallahu anha that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends salam to you. And Khadija radiallahu anha, look at how amazing she was. You don't say wa alayka salam to Allah. What she says Allahu salam wa minhu salam. Right? God himself is peace. Right? And from him is peace. And on Gabriel be peace. Right? So Khadija radiallahu anha, just absolutely our mother, just an amazing person. And in fact, later on, the Prophet ﷺ never forgot Khadija long after she passed away. And whenever her sister would come visit, she could tell, the change on his face, because he would remember one time his son-in-law, who was still mushrik at the time after a battle, was captured, and his daughter Zainab, who was still in Mecca, she sent Khadija's necklace as ransom. And when he saw the necklace, he remembered Khadija and became emotional. And so one time Aisha just couldn't help herself, and she said to him, and I'm paraphrasing the hadith, when are you gonna keep remembering this old toothless woman when you have someone young and beautiful and better? And he said, Wallahi, no one is better than Khadija. She took care of me when everyone else cut me off. And she believed in me when everyone else said I was a liar. And she supported me with her wealth. And Allah gave me children through her. And she said, after that, I never mentioned Khadija again. That's how, subhanAllah, amazing Khadija was. So moving on, chapter 17, warn thy family. So now, again, there's a Quranic verse, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. Warn your closest family. Warn your nearest family. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ, he got together food, and he brought together his family, and he made dinner for them, and they ate. And right before he wanted to say something, Abu Lahab got up and said, "Your host has placed a spell on you." And they all left. And he said, "If you're going to talk to us about what you're talking about, stop it now." So the Prophet didn't say anything. So then he made another azuma, right, without Abu Lahab. And then he went and he started warning them. And he told them, "Ya, O sons of Abdul Muttalib, I know of no Arab who has come to you with a nobler message than myself. I bring to you the best of this world and the next. God has commanded me to call you unto him. Which of you then will help me in this and be my brother and my executor and my successor among you?" No one said anything. Now, already Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, Ali's brother, radiallahu anhu, and Zayd, they were Muslim already. So Ali, radiallahu anhu, who was 13 at the time, got up and said, "Ya Rasulullah, I will be your helper in this." And the Prophet laid his hand on his back and he said, "This is my brother, my executor, and my successor amongst you. Hearken unto him and obey him." And they all got up and started laughing. Really? You're gonna have this 13-year-old be our leader? And so of the aunts of the Prophet ﷺ, Safiya radiallahu anha, she's the mother of Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, she became Muslim. The wife of Al-Abbas, al-Fadl, also became Muslim, and she was able to bring some of her sisters as well, Maymuna, Salma, and Asma as well. So these were some of the family members who became Muslim very, very early on. Okay, so that's and now he's starting to, and now people are starting to, the message is starting to spread, and people are starting to learn about the deen. Okay, so it says in the early days of Islam, the companions of the Prophet would go out together in groups and would pray together. One time, some of the mushrikeen saw them, and then they rudely interrupted them, and they came to blows, and one of them got wounded, right? And so this was the first time that there was actually violence, but for the most part, early on, this was, kind of not done. They didn't come to blows yet. That's going to come later. So now Quraysh is starting to get a little nervous. So they went to Abu Talib and they said, "Abu Talib, you are high and honorable position, and we're telling you to stop your nephew, and we asked him asked you to put him in check, and you haven't done so, and we're tired of being insulted, and our gods insulted, and our ways scoffed at. Either you make him stop, or we're going to fight you both." And then they left him. So Abu Talib went to the Messenger ﷺ and said, "Please, I can't handle this anymore. Please spare your uncle more pain." So the Prophet ﷺ, with tears in his eyes, he said, "Ya Ammu, I swear by Allah, if they put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, so that I can abandon this course before he either makes it victorious or I perish, I will not abandon it." And then crying, he leaves, saying, okay, his uncle is going to abandon him now, because his uncle has been protecting him. And Abu Talib, seeing that and seeing the commitment on the messenger's part, and seeing kind of how eloquent that was, he said, son of my brother, go and do what you say and say what you want. I will never forsake you. Okay, so now they tried again, right? And they keep going. So this time around, now they're very nervous because the pilgrimage is coming, and the Arabs come from all over Arabia to Mecca to do the Hajj. And now they're worried. Now they're going to get more followers. They're going to lose their status. Maybe they even say we don't want, maybe Quraysh, because he's calling to a new religion, they're going to have Quraysh no longer be the guardians of the sanctuary. So what they did is they went to everyone, and they came up with a plan. Like Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, which was the father of Khalid ibn al-Walid, they asked him, what should we say about him, right? What should we say about him? And then he said, the best thing we can say about him is that he's a sorcerer, which is a lie. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually, there's so many verses in the Quran that actually attack Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira directly. ذرني ومن خلقت وحيدا وأمددت له مالا ممدودا وبنين شهودا ثم يطمع أن أزيد. Leave me and the one that I gave money to and sons. إنه فكر وقدر فقتل كيف قدر ثم قتل كيف قدر. Allah says that he thought and he pondered. So may he perish over what he pondered about. ثم نظر ثم عبس وبصر. He went back and forth saying, I know that this is not true about the messenger. ثم فقال هذا سحر يؤثر. إن هذا إلا قول البشر. That this is only magical and sorcery, and this is the words of a man. And Allah says, سأصليه سقر. I'm going to burn him in fire. Right? Allah attacked him so heavily in the Quran. And he said, okay, this guy is a dangerous sorcerer. So they went on every road coming into Mecca and they told the people, listen, this man, we have a dangerous sorcerer, okay? And if you listen to him, he can bewitch you and you can lose your family and your wife and your brother and your father. Be careful. We're just warning you. And so one time, Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, right? The tribe of Ghifar were highway robbers. Okay, they were carjackers. Everyone looked at them and looked down on them. So Abu Dharr he had the iman in his heart, and he went to the story of his conversion is pretty cool. He went to Mecca, and at the time he went to Mecca, anyone that talks about the Messenger ﷺ was like beaten. It was like total shutdown, right? So he kept trying to find the Messenger. No one would tell him anything. So one night there's nobody in the Kaaba, nobody around Mecca, and he goes to two like slave girls, or he says, have you ever heard of this? Do you know where this guy Muhammad is? Sallallahu this man Muhammad. They're like, what? Why are you going to talk about Muhammad? Would you leave Isaf and Na'ila to anyone else? You're going to stop worshiping Isaf and Na'ila? Remember the story about Isaf and Na'ila? There were two people that committed zina that slept together in the Kaaba, and Allah turned them into stone, and they started worshiping them. They're like, are you going to stop worshiping Isaf and Na'ila? And he told them, aren't they nothing but fornicators? Right? And then they started screaming, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. And they started screaming, and the Messenger Abu Bakr was walking, and they're like, what happened? Oh, this man is reviling our gods. The Prophet said, who is he? I want to meet him. And that's how he met Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, and he stayed in Mecca learning Islam, and then he went back to his tribe Ghafar, and he made da'wah to Ghafar. Right? And then it says here that in fact, they still did highway robbery, but he started attacking the caravans of Quraysh to try to hurt them because they were persecuting the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another very famous story is Hufayl, who was a man of the tribe of Daws. He was a big deal, and when they came to him, when he came to Mecca, they're like, oh my God, if this guy becomes Muslim, it's a big problem. So they went to him and he's a sorcerer. He's going to make you lose your wife, and he's going to do all this stuff. Be careful. So much so that Tufayl, he put cotton in his ears. He didn't want to hear that. They said, even if you just hear by mistake, you're going to get bewitched. He's that powerful. So he got so scared, he put cotton in his ears. So as he's walking around making tawaf in the Kaaba, he saw the Messenger, and he heard a little bit of the words like, I know good from wrong. I know bad from good. And let me listen to him. What's the harm? So he went and he talked to him, and he told him about Islam, and he gave him the Quran, and Tufail immediately became Muslim. And Quraysh was like, oh my God. And then they went to him and they go, did you become Muslim? And he goes, Asabata? That's what they used to discern. Did you become like a Sabian, Asabat? Did you leave your previous religion? He said, Bal Aslamt. And they threatened him. And he said, if you touch me or do anything to me, Wallahi la tanjawn min Daws. That you will not be safe from Daws. The entire tribe is going to come after you, because of me. And so they got scared. And then Tufail went back to Daws, and he started making da'wah to Daws. And in fact, I remember listening that on his way back, Allah put light in his forehead to light his way, because desert, it's pitch black. And then he said, "Ya Allah, people are going to say that they made me look weird because I became Muslim. Please put the light somewhere else." So he put the light on the edge of his walking stick as a miracle for him. Tufail ibn Amr from the tribe of Daws. The message, in fact, all the way reached to Aus and Khazraj in Medina. Now, just to give you background, Medina at the time was called Yathrib, and it was inhabited by three main factions. You have two tribes called Al-Aus and Al-Khazraj, who were at war all the time. And then you have the three main Jewish tribes, Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza, and a third tribe of the Jews. The name escapes me right now. And they were all living in Medina, and they were at war with each other, right? And so there was the message of the Prophet reached all the way to Aus and Khazraj, and there was actually one man from among the Aus and Khazraj that actually believed in the Prophet and then died. His name was Iyas, the son of Mu'adh, Iyas ibn Mu'adh, and he was the first convert from Yathrib to become Muslim. But this was way before the Hijrah and when Aus and Khazraj formally accepted Islam. So before we move on, I want to just kind of stop there and see any questions that you guys have about what we discussed.
The spring of Gabriel, do we know where it is right now, or is
I
it
don't
lost?
think. I don't think it's like it stayed like Zamzam. I think it's just he just touched it and water came up and maybe. I mean, there's nothing more that we mentioned other than that. That would be kind of cool if it was still there, but I don't think it's. There's no data on that.
Was next question? Next question. Abu Talib, was he wealthy, or was he not wealthy?
He was wealthy, but the problem is, all of his wealth he spent on the pilgrims, and so in fact he was no longer wealthy because he spent everything out of generosity, right? Because he's the host. He spent everything he owned on the pilgrims. So in fact, he didn't have much money for his family, and that's why Ali radiallahu anhu was raised in the household of the Prophet to take off the financial burden on Abu Talib. And the same thing with Ja'far. I think Ja'far, I said it was an Abbas, but I think Hamza, but it was actually in the household of Abbas radiallahu anhu. Okay, so now they started again. The message kept spreading. More and more people kept believing, but there were a lot of them were slaves. A lot of them were weak, right? And so, there was kind of nobody who kind of really like prominent, right? Who became Muslim, right? And so they were, they didn't have much strength. And so one day, right, the Prophet ﷺ was making tawaf around the Kaaba, and they started. There was a bunch of chieftains of Quraysh, and they started attacking him. We're now in chapter 20. They started attacking him and cursing him and just calling him terrible names. And finally, the Prophet ﷺ couldn't take it anymore, and he stopped and he said, "O Quraysh, will you hear me? Verily, by him who holds my soul in his hand, ji'tukum bidhabh, I brought you slaughter." And the way he said it, they all froze in fear, and then they came up to him and says, "No, oh messenger, oh Abu Qasim, you are not ignorant. Please, it's okay." And then they're all like, after he left, they're like, what just happened here? How can we do that? So then the next time they started beating him up. They said, "Oh, you're threatening us with slaughter. You're threatening us with slaughter," and they started beating the Prophet ﷺ. And then Abu Bakr came running and defending the Prophet, and said, "What are you guys doing? Are you trying to kill someone because he says my Lord is Allah? أَتَقْتُلُونَ رَجُلًا أَنْ يَقُولَ رَبِّي Allah?" Right? So now it started coming to blows. Okay, and there was another day. The Prophet ﷺ was sitting outside the masjid, and Abu Jahl, his name was Amr ibn Hisham. He was from the tribe of Makhzum, the same tribe of Umar ibn Khattab. He just fell on the Prophet with horrific curses, one after the other, after the other, after the other, just relentless. And the Prophet didn't say anything. And he got up and he walked away. Hamza, who was not Muslim at the time, he was a hunter. He was called Sayyad al-Usud. He came back from the hunt. And normally he goes to the Kaaba, makes tawaf, and then kind of stops by people and checks in and say, "Hey, this is what happened. Look at what happened, and this is what happened in my hunt this time." So I do it. Now, as he was coming back, there was a woman who stopped Hamza, and he said to her, she said to him, rather, "If you had only seen now how Abu al-Hakam, which was Amr ibn Hisham, treated your brother's son. He found him sitting here, and he most odiously reviled him and abused him, and then left him. And Muhammad didn't say anything." And Hamza was absolutely furious that no one got up and defended him when another person of another tribe attacked and reviled him. So he went straight to him, Abu Jahl, sitting amongst his people in the Kaaba. He took his bow and he struck him and drew blood. And he said, "Atashumuhu wa ana ala dinihi aqulu ma yaqul." Are you going to revile him and that I am his and I follow his religion and I say what he says? And then members of the tribe got up and they were going to fight it back. And Abu Jahl said, No. Stop. I cursed his nephew really bad. I was wrong here. And he stopped what could have been a big fight. But now everyone's shocked. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" Hamza, he said that I believe. Hamza was not a believer. He really didn't care. So he goes home and he's like, "Okay, what just happened here? What just happened here? I became Muslim. I said that I'm Muslim, but I'm not Muslim. But if I go back on my word, I look bad. And this is a problem. What do I do?" What he just was I can't, and finally he made a dua to Allah. Ya Allah, if the deen of Muhammad is the truth, guide me to it. And in that and overnight, Islam came to his heart, and he became Muslim. And he went to the Prophet and took the Shahada. Right? And the Prophet was so happy. Hamza, who was the same age, and he was more like a brother than really an uncle to the Prophet. He was so happy when Hamza became Muslim. So very happy. And now that changed the calculus, because now they have a very strong person in the person of Hamza radiallahu anhu to become, who's now Muslim and now can protect the believers. And very, very soon another huge conversion will happen, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. So that was a very, very big development and very big victory for Islam, is the conversion of Hamza radiallahu anhu. And then again, Quraysh is starting to get more and more nervous. There's that, and they would go to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and make more demands. So now we're in chapter 21, where they Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, one of the main chieftains of the Mushrikeen, and he was actually less hostile to the Messenger than Abu Jahl, for example. He was a little bit more sympathetic. He went to him, and he tried to reason with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he said, "Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what do you want? What's your angle here, right? If If you want money, if it's wealth that you want, we'll make you the richest man among us. If it's honor that you seek, we will make you our chief advisor, and we won't do anything without your opinion. If you want to be a king, we'll make you our king. If you want women, we'll give you the most beautiful women in all of Quraysh. If there's a jinn that's messing with you, we'll bring all of our doctors and spend everything to make you cure. What's your angle here, man? Let me know. And so the Prophet said, Are you finished? He said, Now hear me, ya Abul Walid. And then he recited to him the Quran, I believe is Surah Fussilat. And Utbah ibn Rabi'ah just sat back with his hands behind his back, and he listened. And he was absolutely taken by the power and the beauty of the words. And in fact, when the Quran warned them about what happened to Ad and Thamud, he got up and he said, No. Nashatuk Allah wa rahim. Nashatuk Allah wa rahim, please. No, don't talk about punishment. Don't talk about punishment. And then he's like, Whoa, what just happened here? And he sat back. And the Prophet says, That's my response to you. And so then he went back to when he came back, they obviously looked at this. He's changed. What happened? And he said, Listen to me. Listen to me. I have heard words that I have heard an utterance, the like of which I have never yet heard. It is not poetry by God, neither is it sorcery nor soothsaying. Men of Quraysh, listen to me and do as I say. If this man be, let him go. Let him do what he wants to do. If the Arabs take him, okay, you're done with him. But if he wins, فَعِزُّهُ عِزُّكُمْ وَشَرَفُهُ شَرَفُكُمْ. If he wins and he becomes the leader of the Arabs, his honor is your honor because he's a member of your tribe. His power is your power. Let him go. And that makes sense, right? I mean, it's very logical. And they said, No, we're not going to do that. He bewitched you with his words. And he's like, All right, man, do what you want. Then another time they went and they argued with him, but now they became derisive. They said, Listen, we're not going to, don't you bring miracles? Well, why don't you bring miracles? Why don't you bring a ladder and go all the way to the sky? Why don't you, and then bring a book that we can read? And why don't you take these mountains from away from us and make rivers flow here, like the rivers of Syria and Iraq? Why don't you raise the dead? And not only one, not any dead, bring Qusay ibn Kilab, our great grandfather, so he can testify to your truth. And no, bring Allah and the angels. No. I want. Why don't you make castles of glass and gold and silver? And if you keep threatening us about the sky coming down, then bring down the sky. Bring down the sky upon us. And one of them said, I will not believe you until you fly. You fly and you fly around in the earth, and they just started getting more and more and more, just more and more kind of audacious in their request for miracles. And the Prophet ﷺ said, You know what? That's not in my power. Allah will bring miracles the way He brings, if He wants to bring miracles, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Quran that He said, they, commenting on this. And then Jibreel alayhi salam came to him and said, Listen, if you want, we'll give them everything that they ask for. But if they disbelieve, they're going to be destroyed. And the Prophet said, No, we're not. Because if you ask for a miracle, that's the way it is. Even with Jesus alayhi salam and the Last Supper, the Eucharist, it's in the Quran. Allah, the Prophet Isa alayhi salam, they said, إذ قال الحواريون, when the Hawariyun, the apostles, said to Jesus alayhi salam, Ya Isa ibn Maryam, هل يستطيع ربك أن ينزل علينا مائدة من السماء? Can your Lord bring down a table spread from heaven? And Jesus, they responded and made the dua to Allah. Allahumma rabbana anzil akhirina. Okay, so oh Allah, bring down a table spread from the heaven. It'll be a Eid, like a feast, a festival for the first of us and the last of us. وآية منك, and a miracle from you. Allah said, إني منزلها عليكم فمن يكفر بعد منكم فإني أعذبه عذابا لا أعذبه أحدا من العالمين. Allah said, I will bring it down, but if any one of you rejects and denies the truth after this, I will punish them with a punishment I have punished no one before. So if you ask for a miracle and then reject it, there's nothing left but destruction. And so the Prophet ﷺ did not want to have destruction come upon Quraysh. And Allah could have brought all the miracles that they asked for. So as we can see, the opposition is now starting to get bigger and bigger, more vicious, more severe, and more difficult as time goes on. So I think we'll stop there. We'll entertain any last questions you have, and then we'll continue next time, inshallah. So questions?
Can you give like a quick? Thank you for doing this. Sorry, what did maybe step on what you were going to say, but can you give a quick recap of Ad and Thamud?
So Ad and Thamud are two Arab tribes they were ancient Arabian tribes that had messengers sent to them. They were very prominent, and they disbelieved in their messengers, and then they were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Arabs knew about Ad and Thamud. So Thamud, so Ad, their prophet's name was Hud, and Thamud, their prophet's name was Salih, if I'm not mistaken. And so they were sent prophets. They rejected their message. In fact, in Thamud, they asked for a miracle of a camel that comes out of the earth, and they had specific requests and specific descriptions, and Allah gave them exactly as they recommended, exactly as they requested, and then they killed the camel. And so Allah destroyed Thamud. And the Ad, same thing. They rejected their messenger, so Allah destroyed them. And that's several places in the Quran discuss Ad and Thamud and how they were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, threatening Quraysh that if you do the same thing with your messenger, you are liable to get the same thing happen to you. They were ancient Arabian tribes. What other questions do you have? Okay, very good. So we'll stop there, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Thank you so much for your time and attention, guys, and we'll until next time, inshallah.